"Jack is safe," Madison said into the microphone. "That's why I chose him." The room laughed before I did. Then her ex raised his glass and said, "Every woman needs a backup plan eventually." That was the moment I stopped smiling. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Nothing in me exploded. I did not throw the champagne glass. I did not shout across the ballroom. I did not grab Ryan by his perfect navy lapels and ask him to repeat it. I only looked at Madison. She was still smiling. That was what I remembered later. Not Ryan's face. Not the laughter. Not the chandelier light. Not the white roses on every table that I had helped choose because she said they looked expensive without looking desperate. I remembered Madison smiling. She wore a white satin engagement dress. Her hair was pinned low. Her eyes were bright from champagne and attention. The diamond on her finger caught the light when she lifted the microphone again. She looked at me like I was supposed to understand. Like this was harmless. Like the room had not just taken the word safe and wrapped it around my throat. Her maid of honor leaned toward the microphone. "Honestly, Jack is exactly what Madison needed after Ryan. Stable. Mature. No drama. More laughter." A man near the bar said, "Reliable transportation and emotional support. Hard to beat." The room laughed harder. Madison's father, Richard, smiled from the head table. He had never liked me. He had been polite about it in the way rich men were polite when they thought manners made contempt more acceptable. He called my job steady. He called my truck practical. He called my mother's apartment modest, after asking too many questions about her medical bills. That night he stood with his champagne glass raised. "I'll admit something," Richard said. "At first I was not sure Jack was the man I pictured for my daughter." Madison's smile weakened. "Dad," she said softly. He ignored her. "But life teaches you something. Passion burns out. Excitement disappoints. What lasts is the man who shows up. The man who waits. The man who does not run when things get hard." People nodded. I looked at my hands. The left cuff of my rented tux shirt had a loose thread near the button. I had noticed it in the restroom and folded my wrist inward all night so nobody would see. Now my hand was around a champagne flute, and the thread was visible. A small, stupid thing. It felt louder than the laughter. Richard kept speaking. "And after everything Madison went through with Ryan, I'm grateful she finally chose stability." Finally. Chose stability. Ryan lifted his glass higher. His smile did not move, but his eyes did. He was enjoying this. He had arrived 20 minutes late to my engagement party, kissed Madison on both cheeks and said, "Don't worry, man. I'm just here to bless the transition." Transition. That was what they thought I was. Not the man who sat with Madison on the bathroom floor after Ryan cheated. Not the man who paid half the repair bill on her car because she had spent her emergency fund on a failed fitness studio. Not the man who missed my mother's specialist appointment because Madison needed me at an investor dinner where Richard introduced me as Jack. He works in logistics. Not the man who had spent 7 years making her life easier. A transition. A backup plan. The safe guy women came home to after they were tired of being hurt by men they still called exciting. My mother sat at table 6. She wore a navy dress she had bought on clearance, and the pearl earrings my father gave her before his heart attack made bills more important than jewelry. She was 71. Her hands were folded over her purse. She was not laughing. That was the thing that cut through the noise. My mother's face. Not angry. Not shocked. Just still. Like she had watched somebody drop something fragile and knew nobody else had noticed the sound. Richard raised his glass. "To Madison and Jack," he said. "To safety. To maturity. To the man who waited long enough to win." The applause came fast. Too fast. People wanted the uncomfortable part covered. Madison looked at me and mouthed, "Smile." That one word did what Ryan's joke had not. It made everything clear. She was not asking if I was hurt. She was asking me to protect the room from what they had done. I set my champagne glass down. It rang against the table. The sound cut through the applause. Madison's smile dropped. "Jack." I reached into my jacket pocket. The ring was warm from my palm. I had slipped it off under the table while Richard talked. I did not remember making a decision. My body had moved before my pride had a chance to argue. I walked to the gift table. The velvet ring box sat beside white roses and a small silver frame that said Future Mr. and Mrs. Miller. I opened the box. Then I put the ring inside. The room went quiet. Madison came toward me fast. "Jack, don't." I looked at her. "Don't do this here," she whispered. "You did." Her face flushed. That was a toast. That was a warning label. Richard stepped forward. Now hold on. Nobody meant disrespect. I turned to him. You called me the man who waited long enough to win. It was a compliment. Then keep it. The silence changed. Ryan let out a short breath behind me. Almost a laugh. I turned. He raised both hands. Man, I'm not involved. You called me a backup plan at my engagement party. His smile thinned. I was joking. No, I said. You were testing the room. A few people looked down. Ryan's jaw tightened. I looked back at Madison. She had tears in her eyes now. For 7 years, tears had moved me. I had crossed rooms for them. I had forgiven things because of them. I had softened my own anger because her pain always looked more urgent than mine. This time I stayed where I was. Madison touched my sleeve. Jack, please. You're embarrassing me. I felt the last part of me go quiet. Not dead. Finished. You're embarrassed, I said, because I stopped participating. Her hand fell away. At table 6, my mother had already stood. She held her purse against her side, small and upright under the chandelier. She did not wave. She did not call my name. She just waited. I walked to her and offered my arm. She took it. We walked out of the ballroom while 200 people watched a safe man leave. The music restarted before we reached the elevator. That was how quickly a room could recover when a useful man removed himself. My mother did not speak in the elevator. She did not speak in the hotel lobby. She did not speak until we reached the parking garage and the smell of oil, wet concrete, and cold exhaust replaced roses and champagne. You okay to drive? She asked. Yes. No, you're not. I looked at her. Her lipstick had faded at the center. Her eyes were wet, but she had not cried. My mother had worked 30 years as a nurse. She had cleaned blood off strangers' hands. She had held dying men who apologized for being heavy. She had learned not to waste tears in public when something still needed doing. They should not have laughed, she said. I looked down at my keys. Madison did. My mother closed her eyes. That was the part that hurt her. My phone buzzed before we left the garage. Madison. Madison. Richard. Unknown number. Madison. Then a text from Ryan. Unknown number, rough night. But stable guys usually don't make scenes. I stared at it. My mother took the phone from my hand, read the message and handed it back. Do not answer that boy tonight. Boy. A man does not need a room laughing with him to feel tall. That was the first good sentence I heard all evening. I drove her home. Halfway there, she fell asleep against the window with her purse in her lap. I kept both hands on the wheel because if I let one go, it might shake. At a red light, my phone lit again. Madison, please come back. Madison, my dad is furious. Madison, everyone is asking questions. Madison, Jack, you made me look awful. I turned the phone face down. My mother lived on the second floor of a brick apartment building near a bus line. The hallway smelled like laundry soap and old carpet. I walked her upstairs because cold weather made her knees stiff, though she pretended it did not. Inside, pill bottles lined the kitchen counter. One envelope from the clinic sat under a power bill. She saw me notice and moved the mail behind the toaster. Don't, she said. I didn't say anything. You were about to think something. That's harder to police. She put water on for tea. My tux jacket went over the back of a chair. The shirt cuff still had that loose thread. I rubbed it between my fingers. Safe. Backup plan. Stable. Mature. The man who waited long enough to win. My mother set a mug in front of me. Don't let tonight make you cruel, she said. I looked up. I mean it, she said. Angry, yes. Clear, yes. Gone if you need to be. But not cruel. Cruelty means they taught you too well. My phone buzzed again. Madison. I did not answer. I slept on my mother's sofa that night. 3 hours. Maybe less. The radiator hissed. A neighbor's television murmured through the wall. At 5:40, I woke with my bow tie still in my pocket and my jaw aching from grinding my teeth. My phone showed 26 missed calls. At 8:12, Madison called again. This time I answered. Jack, she said. Her voice sounded raw. I could picture her at the kitchen island in the condo, barefoot, makeup gone, one of my old sweatshirts hanging off one shoulder. Madison. You left me there. Yes. At our engagement party. Yes. You didn't even talk to me first. You had a microphone. Silence. That's not fair. I looked at the coffee table. My mother had left toast there before going to the laundry room. The butter had melted into the center. Madison said, it was a joke. A stupid joke. Everyone had champagne. You know how Lauren gets. It wasn't Lauren I was marrying. She inhaled sharply. My dad didn't mean it like that. Then what did he mean? He meant you're dependable. Dependable enough to pay the lease penalty when your studio failed? Jack. Dependable enough to miss my mother's appointment for your investor dinner? That is unfair. Dependable enough to sit while your ex called me a backup plan? She started crying. I didn't ask Ryan to say that. No. You just laughed after he did. Silence. Longer this time. Then came the turn. You embarrassed me. I closed my eyes. There it is. What? The first honest thing you've said. I'm trying to tell you I'm hurt. No. You're trying to tell me I stopped protecting your image and you don't know what to do with that. Her breath caught. I'm sorry, she said. I waited. I'm sorry you felt humiliated. There it was. Close enough to apology to ask for credit. Far enough from accountability to leave her clean. I'm coming for my things at noon, I said. No. We need to talk in person. We are talking. Jack, don't be cruel. I'm not the one who let a ballroom laugh at the man wearing her ring. I hung up. My mother came back from the laundry room 10 minutes later. She looked at my face and did not ask. Want me to come? No, you sure? No, yes. I borrowed her car because my truck was still at Madison's condo, and I needed the morning to be one clean wound, not two. The condo lobby smelled like lilies and floor polish. Vince, the doorman, nodded. Morning, Mr. Miller. Morning. His smile faded when he saw my face. The elevator was mirrored on 3 sides. I watched myself rise through 22 floors. 34 years old. Brown hair still damp from the shower. White shirt. Old jacket. A face that had spent years learning how not to react. Madison opened the door before I knocked. She wore my sweatshirt. That was the first hit. The second was the ring still on her finger. The third was Richard sitting at the kitchen island with coffee, like he owned the air. Madison's eyes were swollen. I thought we should all talk. I stayed in the doorway. No, Richard looked up. Come inside, Jack. No, his eyebrows lifted. He was not used to that word from me. Madison crossed her arms. Please don't start. I came for my things. Richard set down his mug. You're making a mistake. I looked at Madison. She looked away. That told me the conversation they had already had. Richard stood. Marriage requires resilience. You can't walk away every time someone says something you don't like. I stepped inside only far enough to put my keys on the entry table. I didn't walk away because someone said something I didn't like. No. I walked away because everyone in that room knew what they were laughing at, and Madison waited for me to absorb it. Madison covered her mouth. Zeit. You're emotional. No, I said. I'm finally counting. He frowned. I pointed toward a ballroom that was no longer there. You called me useful. You called me practical. You called me the man who waited long enough to win, like your daughter was a promotion and I was the safe candidate after the exciting one failed background. Richard's face reddened. That is a twisted interpretation. Then say what you meant. He opened his mouth. Paused. Too long. There it was. Madison saw it too. I walked past them into the bedroom. Most of my life fit into 2 duffel bags and 3 boxes. Tools. Work shirts. Jeans. A framed picture of my father beside his old Ford. 2 books. A stack of consulting invoices I had never chased properly. Chargers. An old gray hoodie Madison wore more than I did. I left the hoodie. I wanted to take it just to be petty. That was why I left it. Madison stood in the doorway. I didn't know they would say all that. I believe you. She blinked. You do? Yes. You didn't know they would say it out loud. Her face changed. She sat on the bed. The bed I had assembled. The frame had taken 2 hours because the screws were mislabeled. Madison had cried in the kitchen that night because Ryan had posted a photo with another woman. I had driven to Home Depot at 9:40 p.m. and come back with replacements. I folded a shirt. She whispered, That's not fair. You keep using that word. Because you're acting like I planned it. No, I said. You just agreed with the room enough not to stop it. Her eyes filled again. This time I did not look away. She needed to be seen in the truth too. I zipped the first duffel. In the living room, Richard watched me carry boxes toward the door. You'll regret this, he said. Madison turned sharply. Dad. He ignored her. Pride won't keep you warm. You have a decent job, not a fortune. You have obligations. Your mother's bills, from what I understand. Madison gave you a future and a family that could help you. The box in my arms went heavy. I turned slowly. You looked into my mother's bills? Richard lifted his chin. I asked reasonable questions before entrusting my daughter's future to you. No, I said. You priced me. Madison went white. Richard's mouth tightened. I was willing to accept you. I laughed once. It sounded wrong in the room. Thank you, I said. That must have been exhausting. His eyes narrowed. I looked at Madison. This was her moment. Not mine. I did not need a speech. I needed one sentence. Stop. You had no right. I'm sorry. You matter. Anything. She looked from me to her father. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes dropped. That silence ended more than the engagement. I nodded. Send anything I missed to Ben's. I carried the box out. Vince helped me load the car without questions. He placed the last box carefully in the back seat and said, "For what it's worth, Mr. Miller, I never liked Mr. Cole." I looked at him. He shrugged. Always double parked. Character shows. For the first time since the ballroom, I laughed. It came out rough. Thanks, Vince. I drove to Ben's house. Ben had been my friend since college. He opened the door with a toddler on one hip, peanut butter on his sleeve, and the expression of a man who had been expecting me without being told. Basement's ready, he said. I only need 2 weeks. He looked at the boxes. Sure. Maybe 3. Jack. I'll pay rent. Shut up and carry something. His wife, Kelly, met us downstairs with clean sheets and the calm brutality of a woman who ran a house with 2 kids, a dog, and no time for male pride. If you eat the kids' cereal, leave the marshmallows, she said. That's not a request. That's a survival rule. Understood. And don't do that thing where you act fine. Ben does it and the whole house gets weird. Ben said, I'm standing right here. I know. She put the sheets on the futon and squeezed my arm once. Not pity. Practical contact. It almost got me. The basement smelled like laundry detergent, old carpet, and freezer-burned chicken from the chest freezer near the stairs. The ceiling was low. Pipes ran overhead. The dog breathed in one corner like a machine losing a lawsuit. I put my father's photo on the folding table. Then I sat on the futon. My phone buzzed. Madison, I can't believe you left like that. Madison, my father was wrong. I know that. Madison, but you were wrong too. Madison, we both need to apologize. I stared at the word both. Then I turned the phone off. For one night I gave myself that. The next week I lost my job. The timing was so bad it almost looked written by someone with no respect for subtlety. Corporate restructuring. 12 positions cut. 2 weeks severance. Health insurance through the end of the month. Carl, my manager, read the statement in a conference room that smelled like stale marker and microwave popcorn. He did not look at me when he said my name. I had worked there 9 years. 9 years of fixing route problems at night. 9 years of reconciling bad vendor data. 9 years of making broken systems less embarrassing for managers who called it team effort in quarterly updates. Carl handed me the packet afterward. Tough break, Jack. I looked at his hand. Then his face. Careful, I said. You almost sounded involved. He pulled his hand back. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck with the severance packet on the passenger seat. For 10 minutes I did nothing. Then I called my mother. She answered on the second ring. You eating? No, that's not an answer I like. I got laid off. The line went quiet. Then she said, do not worry about my rent this month. That was when my hand started shaking. I gripped the steering wheel until the tremor stopped. Mom? I mean it. No, a pause. Then, softer, I hate that you think your first job is still me. I closed my eyes. The dashboard blurred. You were my first job because Dad left too much undone. He died, Jack. I know. That is not the same as leaving. I know. But some part of me did not. Some part of me still believed love meant catching what someone else dropped before it hit the floor. After we hung up, Madison texted. Madison, I heard. I'm so sorry. Please let me help. Then Ryan. Unknown number, rough month. Guess stability was temporary. I stared at the words until they stopped being words and became heat. I typed. Some men need a room laughing with them to feel tall. I sent it. Not wise. Necessary. That night, in Ben's basement, I opened the box of old consulting invoices. Local bakery distributor. Auto parts warehouse. Medical supply routing project. A family-owned furniture company with an inventory problem that was really a nephew problem. Small jobs. Practical jobs. Work I had done after hours before Madison's business failed, before wedding plans, before her father's dinners, before I became too tired to build anything that was only mine. I spread the invoices on the folding table. The dog snored near the laundry basket. Upstairs, one of Ben's kids screamed because a cartoon character made an unacceptable choice. I stared at the paper. No revelation arrived. No heroic plan. I had no startup capital. No investors. No brand. No office. No clean story. Just severance, fear, and the knowledge that mid-sized companies leaked money through logistics mistakes every day because nobody wanted to sit with ugly data long enough to find the rot. At 6:30 the next morning, I called the bakery distributor. At 8:15 I called the auto parts warehouse. At 10:40 I called a medical supply contact. By noon I had 2 maybes and 1 send something over. By 3 I had a headache. By 6 Luis forwarded my name to Claire Bennett. His email was short. Jack talked to Claire. Bennett tool and die. Freight costs are ugly. Don't oversell. She hates that. Below it Claire had replied. Send availability and rates. No hello. No looking forward. No emotional padding. I respected it immediately. I sent 3 time slots and a rate lower than I should have. Her answer came 4 minutes later. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. bring proof. Bennett Tool and Die sat in an industrial park west of the city. Low brick building. Loading bays. Men in safety vests moving between trucks. The air smelled like machine oil, cold metal, cardboard dust, and coffee that had given up. Claire Bennett's office overlooked the warehouse floor. She stood at a whiteboard when I entered, marker in hand, speaking to 2 men who looked like they had already argued with her and lost. She was tall, early 30s, with dark blonde hair pulled back and green eyes that did not waste motion. Navy blouse. Black pants. Sleeves rolled to the forearms. No jewelry except a watch. She did not smile. Good. Smiles used too early often came with hidden fees. You're Jack Miller, she said. Yes. You're unemployed. I stopped with my hand on the chair. Recently. One of the men looked down. Claire capped the marker. Luis says you're useful. That's his love language. No reaction. She pointed to the chair. Sit. I sat. She placed 3 freight invoices in front of me. We're bleeding 12 to 16% above forecast every month. Finance blames volume. Warehouse blames sales. Sales blames carrier delays. Procurement says the contract is competitive. I don't pay for blame. I pay for proof. I looked at the invoices. She watched my face. I did not pretend to solve it in 10 seconds. Men who did that usually sold dashboards and vanished before implementation. I need 12 months of shipment history, I said. Lane data. Carrier bids. Accessorial charges. Fuel adjustments. Dock release times if you have them. We have most. Most is where expensive things hide. Her eyes shifted slightly. Interest. Not approval. Better. What do you charge? I named the rate. She looked at me. That's low. It's introductory. It's low. It's survivable. That is not a business strategy. No, I said. It's Thursday. One of the men almost smiled. Claire did not. But she wrote the rate down. 1 week, she said. Read-only exports. No system access. Find a pattern worth pursuing, we talk next steps. Waste my time, we stop. Fair. And Mr. Miller? Yes. I don't buy confidence. I nodded. Then we'll get along. Her mouth moved toward a smile. It did not arrive. Still counted. The data was filthy. Dates mismatched. Carrier names entered 5 different ways. Lane IDs missing. Fuel surcharges correct on paper and abusive in practice. Shipments split across days because sales promised delivery windows without checking consolidation schedules. Warehouse delays hiding inside accessorial fees. Procurement treating contract rates like a shield while process failures invited every extra charge possible. I spent 3 days in Ben's basement building the model. The kids ran overhead. The dog farted like he had a grudge. Kelly brought coffee downstairs without asking whether I needed it. My mother called each night and pretended not to ask whether I was scared. I was. Not in a grand way. In small, practical cuts. Insurance. Rent. Guest. Medication. The severance clock. Madison texted Thursday night. Madison, I don't know how we got here. I stared at the message. I knew how. That was the problem. I did not answer. Friday morning I returned to Bennett Tool and Die with 6 slides. Claire looked at the deck. 6. You said proof. Not theater. That almost got her. The conference room held Claire, the CFO, the warehouse manager Tom, a shipping lead and procurement, represented by a man named Greg who looked personally offended by my existence. I walked them through the leaks. No magic. No miracle. Just cause and effect. These split shipments cost you $28,000 last quarter, I said. Not because the carrier overcharged by rate. Because sales promised Wednesday delivery on orders that could have consolidated Thursday morning. Tom grunted. We've been saying that. Claire looked at him. You've been complaining. Different format. I continued. Fuel adjustment is mostly within contract terms. Accessorial charges are not. They cluster around late dock release Tuesdays and Fridays. Your first problem is not freight. It's scheduling discipline. Freight is just where the bill shows up. Greg crossed his arms. Our carrier contract is competitive. Yes. He blinked. I clicked to the next slide. They're not overcharging because they're expensive. They're overcharging because your process keeps giving them permission. The room went quiet. Claire leaned back. How much? She asked. Conservative? 9 to 11% reduction in 90 days. More if sales stops promising delivery like a drunk wedding DJ. The CFO laughed once. Claire looked at him. He stopped. Can you implement? She asked. I could have said yes immediately. I needed the work. I also knew implementing meant changing behavior inside a company that did not know me and did not owe me cooperation. I can build the tool and run the first cycle, I said. You need internal enforcement. Without that, this becomes a pretty report everyone ignores while blaming freight again. Claire studied me. You're not overselling. I'm underinsured. That time she smiled. Small but real. 3-month pilot, she said. Weekly review. Same rate first month. We renegotiate if savings appear. Greg started. Claire? She raised one hand without looking at him. He stopped. I noticed that. Not power as performance. Power as usage. After the meeting she walked me to the warehouse door. You look tired, she said. I'm building a wellness brand around it. You always deflect? Only when observed. She looked at me for a second longer than necessary. Luis mentioned your engagement ended badly. Luis talks too much. He said enough. Then he talked too much. She nodded once. No apology. No softening. Good. At the door she said, be careful. With freight. With people who discover you'll carry things if they stand still long enough. I stared at her. The warehouse noise filled the space between us. Forklifts. Pallets. Men calling order numbers. Is that free? I asked. Yes. That's how they get you. This time she smiled without hiding it. Then she went back inside. The pilot did not work cleanly. Tom ignored the new dock release tracking twice. Greg sent incomplete carrier data and blamed the export tool. Sales promised 3 separate rush deliveries without checking the consolidation calendar, then called the model too rigid. At the second weekly review Tom said, floor reality is different. Claire looked at him. Then describe it. He did. For 12 minutes he talked about missing labels, late order changes, forklift shortages, and dock congestion nobody had put in a report because reports were where responsibility went to become someone else's problem. I took notes. When he finished, Claire turned to me. Can the model account for label readiness? Yes, if we get timestamp data. Tom said, we don't track that. Claire looked at him. He sighed. We can. That was how the savings started. Not from genius. From one exhausted warehouse manager agreeing to track one more thing because his boss would not let him hide behind irritation. At night, I still slept in Ben's basement. Madison's text changed shape. Madison, I miss you. Madison, I found your gray sweater. Madison, my dad feels awful. Ryan stopped texting after I blocked him. Then Ben showed me one of Ryan's social posts because Ben had the survival instincts of a golden retriever near traffic. Ryan had posted a photo at a downtown bar. Caption, some people build from pain. Some just perform it. I looked at Ben. Why would you show me this? I thought you'd want to know. I did not. Right. That makes sense now. Kelly walked in, took his phone and put it face down on the counter. Men are so bad at triage. Ben nodded. Fair. I wanted to say Ryan did not matter. Some days he didn't. Some nights, at 1:30 a.m. with freight data open and my bank account on another tab, he mattered more than I wanted to admit. Not because he was better. Because he had been the measuring stick Madison's world used against me, and I had spent years pretending I had not noticed the ruler. Claire noticed too much. During the 4th review she looked at my screen and said, your exception logic is wrong. I stared. No, it isn't. She pointed. It was. I hated that. Thank you, I said. That sounded painful. It was. Good. Means you're still coachable. I shut the laptop. She watched me. What? I asked. You don't like being corrected. Who does? Healthy people. Sounds fake. She leaned back in her chair. You're useful, she said. But if you build your identity around being useful, you'll work for anyone who knows how to look helpless. I looked down at my hands. There was a small cut across my knuckle from moving boxes. The skin around it was rough. That your management style? I asked. No, what is it? Pattern recognition. I let out a breath. Careful. That one cost more. It should. I left before I said something honest. By the end of the second month, Bennett Tool and Die had reduced leakage by 7%. Not 12. Not yet. Enough for the CFO to stop looking at me like I had personally invented risk. Claire renegotiated my rate without permission. I slid my revised proposal across her desk. She read it. No, I frowned. No. It's still low. It's fair. It's fear with formatting. My face got hot. She tapped the proposal. If your work saves a company 6 figures, price it like you believe the math. I'm trying to get retained. You're trying not to be rejected. The sentence landed hard enough that I looked away. She softened by 1 degree. Not pity. Precision. Those are different strategies, she said. I took the proposal back. I'll revise. Good. At the door she added, and Jack? I turned. You don't have to be cheap to be chosen. The sentence hit a place I had not named. I nodded once and left before she saw too much. That night, Madison appeared at Ben's front door. I opened it because the dog barked himself into a crisis and the kids were asleep. She stood under the porch light in a beige coat, hair loose, face pale from cold. She looked expensive, even tired. That irritated me. Grief should have made her less symmetrical. Hi, she said. I stepped outside and pulled the door half closed behind me. How did you get the address? Your mom. Of course. She shouldn't have given it to you. She's worried about you. That doesn't answer why you're here. Madison looked past me at the porch. Kids' bikes near the garage. A plastic dinosaur on its side. A planter full of dead mums. You're staying here? For now. Her mouth tightened. Not disgust. Worse. Concern mixed with the faint relief of seeing that leaving her had not upgraded me. I saw it. She saw me see it. I didn't mean it that way, she said. Yes, you did. Her eyes filled. I took the ring off. I looked at her hand. Bare. I noticed. I thought you'd ask. I didn't. She wrapped her arms around herself. Ryan came by. The night held still. I waited. He said you were trying to punish me. That the business thing was about proving something. Is that what you think? I don't know. I almost smiled. 7 years and she still checked the room before she checked me. I started working because I got laid off, I said. I kept working because I need to eat. That's not what I mean. I know. Her voice shook. You're different. No. I'm less available. That one hurt her. Good. Then I hated that it felt good. Madison stepped closer. I want to try again. I had imagined that sentence. Not because I wanted it. Because part of me wanted proof that I had not made the damage up. When it arrived, it did not feel like victory. It felt like a late bill. No, I said. Jack. No, we can go to counseling. I'll tell everyone what happened. I'll tell them I was wrong. I hope you do. That's it. I looked at her. I loved you for 7 years. I paid costs I didn't name because I thought naming them made love smaller. I let your father make me feel temporary in rooms I helped you afford. I let Ryan stand too close because I didn't want to look insecure. She started crying. I continued because stopping would turn truth back into labor. I don't hate you. I don't think you're evil. But I can't go back to a place where I have to become useful before I'm worth protecting. Madison covered her mouth. The front door opened behind me. Kelly stood there in pajama pants holding a mug. Everything okay? Madison wiped her face fast. I looked at Kelly. Yeah. Kelly looked between us. Okay. Dog threw up in the hallway, so if this is going to be long, move 10 feet left. Madison stared. I laughed once. So did Kelly because she was not a monster. The absurdity saved me from softening. Madison looked at me one last time. I'm sorry, she said. No extra words. No, you felt. No, everyone misunderstood. Just sorry. I nodded. I know. She walked to her car. I watched until she drove away. Kelly stayed beside me. After a minute she said, that sucked. Yes. You want a beer? Yes. Good. Help me with dog vomit first. Fair. The Bennett pilot crossed 12% savings in month 3. Claire sent the email to finance, warehouse, procurement, sales, and me. Pilot results attached. Jack's model identified process leakage across scheduling, accessorial exposure, and consolidation failure. Recommend retaining Miller operations on 6-month implementation contract at revised rate. The revised rate was higher than the number I had sent. Much higher. I stared at it in Ben's basement. The dog snored nearby. The dryer buzzed. Upstairs, one child was arguing with gravity. My phone rang. Claire. I answered. You changed the rate. Yes. That's not how negotiation works. It is when one party is negotiating against his own survival. I can't ask for that. You didn't? I did. I leaned back in the folding chair. Why? Because that's what the work is worth. The sentence hit harder than praise. Claire continued, and because if you keep pricing yourself like an apology, someone worse than me will accept. Worse than you? I have flaws. Hidden deep. Cataloged privately. I smiled. She was quiet for a beat. There's an industry mixer next Thursday, she said. Mostly manufacturers, distributors, vendors. You should come. I don't have a mixer face. Borrow one. Is this required? No, then why? Because people should see the person behind the work. And because clients sign contracts with people they remember. I looked at my old suit hanging from a pipe near the washer. People are overrated. Yes, she said. But they approve budgets. The mixer was held in a downtown hotel ballroom. Of course. Same polished floors. Same terrible lighting. Same round tables dressed in white cloth. Same smell of citrus cleaner, perfume, and ambition trying too hard. I stood near registration for 30 seconds and felt the old room overlay this one. Madison's satin dress. Richard's glass. Ryan's voice. Safe. Backup plan. I almost left. Then Maya texted. Maya was the data analyst I had hired part-time after the Bennett contract. 26, sharp, sarcastic, and allergic to nonsense. Maya, if you bail, I will tell Claire your dashboard colors are ugly. I looked across the room. Claire stood near a vendor booth in a dark green dress and black blazer, speaking with 2 men from a packaging company. She saw me. Lifted 2 fingers. Not a wave. Acknowledgement. I breathed out. Then Ryan appeared near the bar. Same smile. Different suit. My body reacted before my mind did. Shoulders tight. Jaw locked. Right hand around the glass. He saw me and walked over. Jack. Ryan. I heard you were doing the startup thing. Consulting. Right? He looked at my suit. Good for you. The look was quick. Still enough. I waited. He leaned closer. Madison says you won't talk to her. That seems like talking about me. His smile thinned. She's hurting. I know. You were always stubborn. Only after public humiliation. He laughed softly. Look, I'm not the villain here. I didn't assign roles. Didn't you? I looked at him. People moved around us. Glasses clinked. Someone at the microphone announced raffle tickets. Ryan said, you walked out because of a joke. Then you started this whole business thing like you're proving something. Claire's voice came from beside us. Ryan Cole. He turned. His face changed immediately. Recognition. Charm. Calculation. Claire Bennett. She shook his hand once and released it. You two know each other? I asked. Ryan smiled. Small world. Claire looked at me. His firm overpromised lanes to us 3 years ago, underdelivered capacity, then blamed weather that didn't exist. A woman nearby turned her head. Ryan laughed. That's one interpretation. It was in the report. More people looked over. Claire continued, voice even. Jack's model identified a 12% process leak in our freight spend. We're retaining him through implementation. Ryan looked at me. For the first time, the smile struggled. Good for him. Claire's gaze did not move. Competence usually is. The small group around us went quiet. Ryan's face flushed. I should have enjoyed it. Part of me did. Not enough. I was tired of needing witnesses. I looked at Ryan. You can stop showing up now. His eyes narrowed. Excuse me? You heard me. Madison has her life. You have yours. I'm building mine. Stop auditioning for the part of my problem. Claire's mouth twitched. Ryan set his glass down. Good luck, Jack. Thanks. He left with less audience than he wanted. I stepped out onto the hotel terrace because my shirt collar felt too tight. Claire followed. Cold air hit my face. The city below was wet from earlier rain. Taxi lights moved along the street. "You okay?" she asked. "No," she nodded. "Good answer." I rubbed both hands over my face. I hate that he still gets to me. Of course he does. Is that supposed to help? No. It's supposed to be accurate. I laughed once. She rested her forearms on the railing. "People who humiliate you in public don't just insult your pride," she said. "They change your sense of scale. For a while, every room feels like that room." I looked at her. The wind moved a strand of hair against her cheek. She said it like she knew. I did not ask. "Not yet." Instead I said, "You always this cheerful?" "Only near Hotel Citrus Cleaner." We stood outside until my hands went numb. By winter, Miller Operations had 3 clients. Not an empire. 3. Bennett Tool and Die. A medical supply distributor. A frozen foods company run by brothers who argued like hostile weather and paid on time. I moved out of Ben's basement into a small apartment above a hardware store. The radiator clanked at night. The kitchen cabinets hung crooked. The bedroom window faced an alley where delivery trucks backed in at dawn. It was not much. It had my name on the lease. My mother came by with a casserole and cried in the doorway. "It's not that nice," I said. She wiped her eyes. "It's yours." Claire came 2 weeks later to review implementation data because she claimed the warehouse Wi-Fi was unstable and my apartment was geographically tolerable. She stood in my kitchen with her laptop under one arm, looking at a cabinet. "You live here?" "The lease suggests yes." She opened the cabinet. It squeaked. That sound is a cry for help. It came with character. It came with deferred maintenance. I poured coffee. She looked around. No judgment. That mattered more than admiration. On the table sat my mother's medication organizer beside invoices and a cheap lamp. Claire noticed. Did not comment. We worked 2 hours. She challenged 3 assumptions. I defended 2 and conceded 1. Afterward, she stood by the window looking into the alley. "Madison called me," she said. My hand stopped over the laptop. "What?" "She got my number from a mutual contact. She asked whether we were involved." Heat rose in my face. "I'm sorry." "Why?" "Because she dragged you into it." "She tried." "What did you say?" I said my personal life wasn't a customer service portal. Despite myself, I smiled. "She also said you were vulnerable." I closed the laptop. "That was generous." "She said she worries I'm taking advantage of you while you're angry." My first emotion was shame. That made me angry. Claire watched both cross my face. "I told her you are a grown man with poor sleep habits and a functioning spine." I laughed. It came out louder than expected. Claire's eyes warmed. Then she looked away first. The room shifted. She stood in my small kitchen, black coat open, winter light behind her, and I wanted to cross the room. Not to prove I had moved on. Not to be seen. Just because she was there. I did not move. She noticed. "Jack." "Yes." "I'm not a reward for surviving Madison." The sentence landed clean and deserved. I nodded. "I know." "Do you?" "Yes." She studied me. "I like you," she said. My pulse changed. "But I don't want to be where you hide from pain." I leaned against the counter. The cabinet squeaked behind me. "I don't want that either." "Good. Does that mean dinner is off?" "I didn't ask you to dinner." "Right." I sensed opportunity. There might be one. "When?" "When you can ask me without proving anything to anyone, including yourself." That frustrated me. It also made me respect her more. I nodded. "Fair." At the door she turned back. "Fix the cabinet." "Yes, ma'am." Her eyes narrowed. I smiled. She left. I fixed the cabinet the next day. Not because she told me. Because after she named the problem, I could not unhear it. 2 months later, I asked her to dinner. No setup. No audience. A Wednesday review ended. The warehouse team left. The conference room smelled like coffee and dry erase marker. A forklift beeped beyond the glass. "Claire." She looked up. "Have dinner with me." She closed her folder. That was almost direct. "I can try again." "No need." Pause. "Friday," she said. No logistics talk. That eliminates 60% of my personality. Develop new material. Dinner was at a small Italian place with uneven tables and bread good enough to make silence acceptable. Claire wore a blue sweater. I wore my charcoal jacket with jeans because I was still learning where business ended and life began. We talked about her divorce. Not all at once. Pieces. Her ex-husband had not cheated. He had done something quieter. He admired her competence in public and punished it at home. He liked saying he supported her career when people clapped. Then he went silent for days when her work ran late. I think he liked the idea of a strong woman, she said, tearing bread into small pieces. He hated the schedule. I looked at my plate. Madison liked reliable. Claire looked at me. Until reliability had a pulse? I smiled faintly. Something like that. The waiter refilled water. A couple at the next table argued about a babysitter. Someone dropped a pan in the kitchen. Claire asked about my father. I told her he died at 58 in a hardware store aisle, holding a box of screws he did not need. I told her I had been angry at him for leaving debt, then angry at myself for being angry at a dead man. I told her my mother still kept his work jacket in the hall closet. Claire did not reach across the table. She did not soften her voice into pity. She listened. When I finished, she said, "That's a lot to carry." Not praise. Not accusation. Measurement. Yes, I said. Outside, beside her car, she turned to me. "I'm going to kiss you," she said. I blinked. Operational. I value clarity. Same. She stepped closer. I did not kiss her first. She noticed. Her face changed by a fraction. Then she touched my coat and kissed me. It did not fix the ballroom. It did not erase Madison. It did not turn me into a man without bills, fear, or bad sleep. It was warm. It was chosen. That was enough to make my hands shake when I touched her waist. She pulled back. "You okay?" "No," she smiled. "Good answer." The business grew. Slowly. Unevenly. I hired Maya full-time. Then Andre, who knew warehouse systems and could talk to floor managers without sounding like a consultant. We rented a small office that smelled like paint, old carpet, and panic disguised as ambition. One month I made payroll by $7. I did not tell Claire. She found out because Maya mentioned delayed reimbursements during a meeting. Afterward, Claire closed the conference room door. "You should have told me. You're a client. I'm also the woman who knows where you keep your bad coffee." Boundaries. Don't use vocabulary to dodge me. I rubbed the back of my neck. I was embarrassed. She softened. "Not much. Enough. Embarrassment is expensive when it hides math." "I know. Do you?" "I do now." That night, we rebuilt my cash flow projections at my kitchen table. Claire wore one of my old sweatshirts after spilling coffee on her blouse. It looked better on her than it had on me. I made grilled cheese at midnight and burned one side. She ate it anyway. "This is bad," she said. "You ate half." "I respect effort." "That sounds like something you say before firing a vendor." She smiled. After we finished, she stayed. Not because crisis made it romantic. Because staying had become something we chose carefully. In the morning, she stood in my kitchen, hair messy, face bare, drinking bad coffee and looking at my mother's medication organizer. "How's your mom?" Pretending not to need new shoes. "You buying them?" "Yes." Pretending they were on sale? "Yes." She looked at me over the mug. "You're not subtle." My mother is polite enough to act fooled. Claire set the mug down. "That's love too." She touched my hand once before leaving. Not rescue. Witness. Spring came. Then summer. Ryan got engaged to a woman whose Instagram captions involved gratitude and beachfront lighting. Ben showed me, then apologized before I could react. "I'm learning," he said. Slowly. Madison texted once in July. "Madison, I hope you're happy." I looked at it in the office after a long day of fighting a frozen foods client's warehouse software. I typed, "I hope you are too." I sent it. No anger. No door reopening. Just a human answer from a man no longer applying for the job of being wounded. A year after the engagement party, Miller operations nearly collapsed. That matters. People like clean revenge. Public humiliation. Hard work. Success. Applause. They like the old room brought to its knees. Life is less organized. Our largest client delayed payment 90 days because of an acquisition. Another paused implementation after their CFO resigned. A third tried to renegotiate after we had already done half the work. Payroll became a weekly threat again. Then a regional manufacturing association invited me to present at their annual conference. Claire said it was good exposure. Maya said exposure was what people died from on mountains. Andre asked, "Do we get paid?" "No," I said. He stared. "Then I hate it." I went anyway. The conference was held in a hotel ballroom. Of course. Round tables. White cloth. Chandeliers. Bad lighting. Dry chicken waiting under silver covers. I stood backstage with damp palms and a clicker that kept sticking. Claire stood beside me in a black dress and blazer, reading the event program. You're quiet. You dislike ballrooms? I know. I looked at her. She did. She had never turned it into a healing project. She had simply remembered. My name was announced. The applause was polite. I walked onto the stage. Then I saw Madison. Back table. Pale blue dress. Shorter hair. No Richard. No Ryan. Just Madison, sitting with two women I did not know, her hands folded around a program. Our eyes met. My step faltered. Not enough for the room. Enough for Claire probably. For half a second the old ballroom came back. Say, backup plan. The man who waited long enough to win. My mouth went dry. Then Maya in the second row lifted both hands and mouthed, "Breathe, idiot." I almost laughed. That saved me. I started. The presentation was not brilliant. It was useful. 23 minutes on operational leakage in mid-market distribution networks. Examples. Cost ranges. Corrective processes. Failures companies could recognize without feeling preached at. I forgot one transition. The clicker stuck twice. Someone asked a hostile question about implementation friction. Yes, I said. Your team will resist process changes if leadership treats the tool like magic instead of discipline. Software doesn't save money. People changing behavior saves money. The tool just makes denial more difficult. People wrote that down. Afterward, 3 potential clients asked for meetings. Madison approached while I packed my laptop. Claire was 15 feet away speaking to an association director. She saw Madison. Her face did not change. "Hi," Madison said. "Hi. You were good up there." "Thanks. I mean it." "I know." She looked at my laptop bag. "You look different." "I sleep less." She smiled faintly. Then looked down. "I'm sorry," she said. I waited. No extra words came. "For that night," she said. "And before it? I didn't understand what I was asking you to carry." The ballroom staff were already clearing plates. The room had moved on. "I didn't always understand either," I said. She nodded. "I heard about your company. Some days that's good news. I'm glad you built it." There had been a time I wanted her regret to arrive loudly. I wanted her to see Claire, the company, the clients, the proof. Standing there worried about payroll and tired from speaking under fluorescent chandeliers, I did not feel like proof. I felt like a man trying. That was better. "I hope you're doing okay," I said. Her eyes shone. "I'm getting there." Claire came over then. Not possessive. Not theatrical. Simply beside me. "Claire Bennett," Madison said. "Madison." They shook hands. No war. No performance. No woman reduced to villain so another could be chosen. Madison looked at me one last time. "Take care, Jack." "You too." She left. Claire watched her go. "You okay?" I exhaled. "No." Good answer. The association talk brought in 2 clients. Not enough to make us rich. Enough to make payroll. Enough to breathe. That winter, an investment firm offered to buy Miller operations. Not headline money. Not a miracle. Practical money. Enough to clear my debts, secure my mother's housing, and turn me back into an employee under a larger company's plan. I read the term sheet 6 times at my kitchen table. Claire sat across from me. She did not tell me what to do. That irritated me. "You're being quiet." "Yes." "Strategically?" "Respectfully." "I don't like it." "I know." The radiator clanked. Snow tapped at the window. My mother's new shoes sat by the door because she had visited earlier and pretended not to know who bought them. "If I sell," I said, "I'm safe." Claire's eyes lifted. The word sat between us. Old bruise. New shape. "Financially safer," she said. "Same family." "No," I looked at her. "Safe is not the insult," she said. Being reduced to it was. I looked down at the term sheet. The offer was real. So was the fear. I had employees. A mother. Health insurance. Rent. Responsibilities did not vanish because dignity entered the room. "What would you do?" I asked. Claire leaned back. "I would ask whether you want relief or escape." That took a moment. "I don't know." "Then don't sign tonight." "I have 48 hours." "Then sleep badly for 48 hours and decide like an adult." I laughed. "You're terrible comfort." "I'm excellent comfort." "You prefer sedation." The next 2 days were ugly. I spoke with Maya and Andre. Maya said, "If you sell because you're tired, say that. If you sell because it's strategic, say that. Don't call fear strategy." It offends spreadsheets. Andre said, can I still yell at warehouse managers? Probably. Then I'm neutral. I spoke with a lawyer I could barely afford. I spoke with my mother. She said, money matters. Don't let anyone romanticize struggle. Then she paused and added, but so does waking up without hating the mirror. In the end I declined. Not because I was fearless. Because the offer bought my exhaustion and rented back my purpose. I sent the email at 11:47 p.m. Then I sat in the kitchen with a glass of water and waited for regret. It came. Regret is not always proof of a wrong decision. Sometimes fear just arrives late with a clipboard. Claire came over 20 minutes later with coffee. You declined. Yes. You look like you swallowed a socket wrench. Feels accurate. She sat beside me. No congratulations. No speech. After a while she slid the coffee toward me. Still standing? I looked at the cup. Then at her. Annoyingly. She smiled. Good. I rubbed both hands over my face. I might have made a stupid decision. Yes. I looked at her. She shrugged. You might have. Adults do that. Then they build around it or correct course. That was almost reassuring. I'm improving. I laughed. Then leaned back and let the chair creak beneath me. Claire watched me. I didn't fall in love with an outcome, Jack. The room went still. She had never said it like that before. My hand stopped around the coffee. She looked at me steadily. No audience. No ballroom. No need for me to be impressive. I fell in love with the man who kept showing up, she said. But I need him to know he is allowed to sit down. Something in me gave way. Not loudly. Enough. I covered my face with one hand. Claire did not touch me right away. She waited until I reached for her. Then she moved closer, slid her hand into mine, and held it like it was not a debt, not a favor, not a task. Just a hand. A year later, Miller Operations was still small. 7 employees. 14 active clients. 1 copier that hated everyone equally. Good months. Tight months. Maya became operations lead and terrified vendors more efficiently than I ever had. Andre built an implementation checklist so clear it made one client angry on principle. My mother moved into a building with an elevator and pretended the community room was beneath her until she started running the Thursday card table. Claire and I did not become a glossy couple. We argued about my hours. We argued about her refusal to admit when she had a fever. We argued about whether my apartment was functional or a man-made storage incident. Then we moved in together anyway into a small house with a crooked fence and a garage I claimed I would organize by summer. I did not specify which summer. On a Friday in late October, almost 2 years after the engagement party, I found myself at another formal dinner. A Manufacturing Association award night. Round tables. White cloth. Dry chicken. Speeches that confused length with meaning. Miller Operations had been nominated for a regional small business award. We were not expected to win. That helped. Claire sat beside me in a black dress, one hand near mine. My mother sat on my other side wearing a blue shawl Claire helped choose. Ben and Kelly sat at the next table already stealing bread rolls for their kids. When they called my company's name, I did not stand at first. Maya kicked my chair. Move, she said. I stood. The room clapped. Not wildly. Professionally. Enough. On the stage, I accepted a plaque that was heavier than expected and shook hands with a man whose name vanished immediately. The microphone waited. I looked out at the room. For half a second, another ballroom tried to overlay itself on this one. White satin. Laughter. Safe. Good guy. Backup plan. I looked at my mother. She was crying but smiling this time. I looked at Claire. She did not mouth encouragement. Did not rescue me. Did not tell me what to be. She trusted me to stand. So I did. Thank you, I said. My voice sounded rough. I cleared it. We're a small company. We fix expensive leaks and boring systems. That doesn't make for a great speech, so I'll keep it short. A few people laughed. I used to think being reliable meant absorbing every problem quietly. I was wrong. Reliable systems have boundaries. Reliable people need them too. Claire's eyes softened. Maya nodded once, approving the operational metaphor. We built this company slowly, I said. With mistakes, late invoices, hard conversations, and a copier I believe is personally opposed to growth. We were helped by clients who asked for proof before applause, friends who offered basements, employees who corrected the founder when he was being cheap, and family who stayed close without turning love into a receipt. My mother covered her mouth. I did not look too long. Thank you for recognizing the work. We'll get back to it Monday. That was it. No grand revenge. No enemies destroyed. No room kneeling. Just applause, warm and brief, and a walk back to the table with a plaque in my hand and my life still complicated. When I sat, Claire leaned toward me. Good speech. You sound surprised. I've seen your first drafts. Cruel. Evidence-based. My mother touched the plaque with 2 fingers. Your father would have liked this. I swallowed. Yeah. She nodded. He liked useful things. I laughed softly, then stopped because my eyes burned. Claire's hand found mine under the table. Not to calm me. Not to claim me. Just to be there. Across the room, a waiter cleared plates. Someone complained about the coffee. Ben dropped a roll into Kelly's purse and got caught. Life moved in its ordinary, undignified way. I thought about the man I had been 2 years earlier, standing in a rented tux while a room laughed at the word safe. I had hated that word because they used it like a cage. Now, sitting between my mother and the woman who loved me without needing me reduced, I understood something smaller and stronger. Safety was not the insult. A man could be safe and still be wanted. Reliable and still be respected. Useful and still free to say no. The wound had not disappeared. Wounds do not respect clean endings. Some nights an old phrase still found me. Some rooms still made my shoulders tighten. Some bills still made my stomach drop. But the difference was simple. I no longer mistook being needed for being loved. I no longer stayed where endurance was the price of admission. Claire squeezed my hand once. Still standing? She asked. I looked at the plaque, then at my mother, then at Ben laughing while Kelly scolded him, then at Claire's steady face under bad ballroom light. I squeezed back. Sometimes, I said. She smiled. Good. The waiter came by with coffee. It was terrible. I drank it anyway. Later, when the dinner ended, I walked my mother to the car. The night was cold. The parking lot lights shone on the hood of my truck. My mother moved slowly, one hand on my arm, the same way she had walked out of that other ballroom with me 2 years earlier. At her door she stopped. I was proud of you then, she said. I looked at her. When? When you left. The cold air sat between us. She touched my cheek the way she had when I was a boy pretending not to cry. I am proud of this too, she said looking back at the hotel. But that night was the first time I knew you believed you were allowed to go. I did not answer right away. The words had to settle. Inside the hotel, people were still talking, still laughing, still eating dessert that tasted like sugar and cardboard. Outside, my mother waited. Claire stood a few cars away, giving us privacy, her black coat buttoned, her hair moving slightly in the wind. She was not watching over me like I might break. She was simply there when I turned. My mother got into the car. I closed her door. Then I walked back to Claire. She looked at my face and did not ask too much. Ready? She said. I looked once at the hotel doors. No Madison. No Ryan. No Richard. No old room. Only glass, light, and people leaving with coats over their arms. I took Claire's hand. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. We walked to the truck. No music swelled. No one watched. No one applauded. That was fine. The best parts of a man's life do not always need an audience. Sometimes the victory is quiet. Sometimes it is a key turning in your own door. Sometimes it is an invoice sent at full price. Sometimes it is your mother no longer hiding the clinic bill behind the toaster. Sometimes it is the woman beside you saying nothing because she already knows you are not a thing to be fixed. And sometimes it is this: they called him safe because they thought he could not leave. They were wrong.